The Atheist, Consciousness After Death, Rational Lucidity, and the Fall of Absolute Materialism. The account, The Atheist, presented in the second part of Heaven and Hell, offers a profound and balanced reflection on the continuity of consciousness after death, without resorting to religious dogmas. Allan Kardec presents here a testimony that is especially relevant to modern thought, as it directly engages with philosophical materialism and the belief that consciousness extinguishes with the body. The spirit manifests with full intellectual lucidity, maintaining its capacity for reasoning, memory, and identity. In life, it had denied the existence of any spiritual principle, reducing consciousness to the biological functioning of the brain. After passing, the shock does not come from punishment, but from the direct evidence of continuing to exist, think, and feel outside the physical body. Contemporary psychology and science help to understand the relevance of this testimony. Current studies on consciousness indicate that it cannot be fully explained by neural processes alone. Phenomena such as near-death experiences, expanded states of consciousness, and research in neuroscience point to a complexity that transcends the classical materialist model. The spiritual account engages with these discoveries by showing that consciousness can operate independently of the body. The suffering experienced by this spirit does not arise from religious fear, but from the breaking of an absolute conviction. He realizes that he has built his worldview on a rigid denial of the spiritual dimension. Upon awakening, he faces the need to reconstruct his entire understanding of existence. This rupture generates disturbance, insecurity, and moral discomfort, typical of any deep process of belief revision. Spiritism clarifies that this suffering is not a punishment for disbelief, but a natural consequence of intellectual resistance to spiritual reality. The consciousness, accustomed to denying what it is now experiencing, needs time to reorganize its concepts. Pain arises from the conflict between direct experience and previous belief, not from external punishment. Modern science reinforces this logic by showing that paradigm shifts are often accompanied by cognitive discomfort. When a theory fails to explain observed facts, the mind must abandon old structures and build new ones. In the spiritual realm, this process occurs more intensely, as the experience is direct and undeniable. Another essential point of the testimony is that moral lucidity does not depend on religious belief, but on intellectual honesty. The spirit is not presented as evil or wicked, but as someone who will need to learn that denying a dimension of reality does not make it cease to exist. Spiritual progress begins when consciousness accepts to investigate, understand, and broaden its vision. This account also brings an important message for the present. Questioning is healthy. Absolute denial limits learning. Spiritism does not require blind faith, but proposes a reasoned faith, open to dialogue with science, philosophy, and human experience. Consciousness grows when it remains flexible and willing to revise its certainties. The testimony of an atheist shows that spiritual life does not punish convictions, but invites the expansion of understanding. Truth does not impose itself by force, but through experience. Consciousness is not humiliated, it is educated. Reflecting on this account is an invitation to intellectual humility, recognizing the limits of one's own knowledge, remaining open to the unknown, and accepting that reality may be greater than our theories is an essential step for growth, both in physical life and beyond it. If this content helped you reflect on consciousness, science, and spirituality, like, share, and leave your comment. Your participation helps this message reach more people.